Hey, what's up? I'm back again. Well, what do you know? I have a brief moment where I can make a video because of the fact that the sun hasn't quite come up yet. So, um, while my dad is already at work and the sun is not up yet, I'd like to make a quick video, okay? What I'd like to talk about in this video is, I'm not sure what I want to title this video, but just want to talk about how there's this one person. Okay, I'm not going to name names because that could get me in trouble. Okay, this one person who made a video about me long ago. I might want to title it Unanswered Prayers or something like that. This one person who made a video about me long ago later deleted it. But the reason why, I can't give more detail is because then you would know what name I was using about 14 years ago. And no, I don't intend to start using that name again, hence the sunglasses. Was hoping I'd be able to show some of the reddish color in my hair, but that's not working out too well. So anyway, this person had all but quit YouTube. Latest video is about 4 years old. So I thought we would never see another video from this person again until this person recently had phalloplasty, the surgery that, as I've stated before, I wouldn't get phalloplasty, or my name phalloplasty. Okay? And, I used to follow this person, very fascinating, because back when there weren't quite so many trans YouTubers, this was one of the first. Okay, so, it's just always, like I say, it's always been fascinating, specifically F to M transgenders, because at one point in my life, I would have sworn that I was exactly that. And I'm just so glad that I got out of that thinking pretty much. By the time that it could have materialized into reality, I'm just so glad that I got to grow up in a world where that wasn't normalized, and there was no doctor that would have prescribed hormones and surgeries to a teenager, because that was the time in my life when I wanted it the most, and the desire kind of went down exponentially. And then when I got my hysterectomy for an unrelated reason, a necessary hysterectomy, then it pretty much went down even further, because I no longer had the justification of stopping my period. You know what I'm saying? People would ask me, like, why? Why would you ever want to be a man? Especially the women in my life. And the men just don't want to talk about it whatsoever with me. But when people say, like, why would you ever want to be a man? I would say something like, well, I wish I didn't have a period. But then when I got my hysterectomy, I no longer had that excuse, so to speak. And I'm glad, I'm glad I no longer have any justification, because as I see it, it's a simple cost-benefit analysis. Okay, the one positive change that I might get from testosterone would be the voice change. And then I could end up sounding like Jordan Peterson, with a very annoying voice that isn't all that deep. There's no guarantee that just because your voice changes, it'll change the extent or the tone that you would like it to be. Okay, so, there's no guarantee. Just look at actual men. Not all of them have as deep a voice as others. You know what I'm saying? Some men don't change as much as the average male in puberty. So there's no guarantee that anything really great would come out of it. And then, of course, everything else is pretty much bad. Okay? But more importantly than that, this thing about phalloplasty, I've never had any intentions of doing that whatsoever. Even when I most wanted to live as a male, so to speak, when I was in my teens, I never, ever would have even conceived of such a procedure as phalloplasty. I mean, I honestly didn't know that any doctor would attempt that. In my mind, the most you could get was metoidioplasty, and of course I didn't know what it was called. You know, I just thought that that sort of a procedure was the most you could possibly do as far as genital surgery. But, I just want to, I guess, title this video Unanswered Prayers, and, just say that no matter how short it may seem that I'm cutting my hair, which unfortunately, like I've stated before, it's always too short when I get a fresh haircut, and I look forward to it growing out, okay? The only reason I cut it so frequently is, well, because I have the opportunity and I can't just let it grow long. I mean, it hasn't been long, well, since I was maybe 10 or 11. So anyway, I'm glad that that's an unanswered prayer, from when I was younger. I used to always like that song when I was like 8 years old, that song by Garth Brooks, Unanswered Prayers. And, I'm just reminded of it when I see these people who have been on testosterone for a long time, and I see the effects on them. And to me, it isn't good. It isn't something I could live with. I could not live with, looking the way that the average person looks after this many years. And, one thing that I just love to talk about, and I'm pretty much the only person who ever talks about this subject, it's the fact that I wish more people, like I've stated before, I wish more people would speak out against the whole trans thing, and it's sad that the few people who attempt it often lose their channels and their Twitter accounts and what have you. My heroes are the few remaining people who have a lot of content that speaks out against it. And I'm not going to say who they are, but you can imagine, people like Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro. But I don't want to name too many of them because I don't want them to lose their channel. But, and the other reason, I don't want to say who this person is who recently got phalloplasty, because I don't want this person to stop posting videos. You know what I'm saying? It's like I enjoy interesting content, and for some reason that's just a very interesting subject matter, I guess, even though I have no intention of actually living that way myself. But, however short I may be cutting my hair, and however unfeminine I may appear to be, even though I wear jewelry, I'm still glad that I'm pre-T, so to speak. I've never gotten on testosterone. I've never started using men's bathrooms. I've never come out officially, although I tried it. My parents just rejected that idea, and I just apologized and just went back to just the life that I've always had, never tried to switch my pronouns or my name. But one thing that no one ever mentions, all these people that think they can become the opposite sex, and this cannot be stated enough. It's like you can change what's on the outside to appear exactly, to whatever extent possible, as the opposite sex. But there are just certain things that will never change, There's just some things about the body, like, as I've stated before, the female colon is actually 4 inches longer on average than the male colon. And I've always found that ironic, because as much as men think we don't have bowel functions, our GI tract, or our intestines, are one of the few things in the female body that is actually bigger than that of the male body. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like the very things that men want to shame us for and stop us from talking about or showing in public, like our chest. They don't want us to talk about our menstrual cycle and, things that only women experience. But, it's ironic how the very things that we get shamed about are the things that we either do better than men or in our bodies are actually bigger. Unlike everything else about the body, the female colon is actually bigger, so they don't want to be, they'd rather believe that we just don't poop. You know what I'm saying? We just don't have bowel functions. And it's ironic, that the female colon is actually longer than the male colon. We have more intestines and therefore a slower food transit time. And that's one of the reasons it's harder to lose weight as a woman. And the reason why is so that we can absorb more nutrients during pregnancy, because the baby needs extra nutrients from our body, whereas a man can never have a baby. So it's because men are jealous of our bodies, I mean, testosterone might do more to the outside of the body, but the things that we can do that their bodies can't, or that are bigger in us than in them, are things that they want to shame us for. You know what I'm saying? They want to shame us about our bodily functions, partly because we master them at a younger age than boys do. And, so it just, now that I'm older, you know what I'm saying? It's like, now that I see the nature of men, it just, the older I get, the less I want to become one, so to speak. I'm living with one, and he can't even be bothered to pick up his favorite electronic device, his remote control, when it falls on the floor. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I just don't want to be a man. I don't want to be mistaken for a man. And I'm so glad that I have never been on testosterone or had any surgeries like that.